What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to the Saturday edition of the PrizePicks Picks Show. Tons of baseball today, starting early. We've got NBA, we've got WNBA. Zach has already thrown, I think it was 3 WNBA picks into the Pick'em Discord channel over at FTNFantasy, and I think more are coming. So we are locked and loaded today. I've got a bunch of baseball picks. We'll run through them all. And big announcement, big announcement starting Monday. This coming Monday, so 2 days from now, we will be moving the show up to 11:15 a.m. Eastern, a full hour earlier. Pretty self-explanatory why we're doing that. Too many of our picks have been taken down off the board by the time we come live. So, that's going to give all of you guys a better chance to tail a lot of the plays. But then also note this. We are going to be giving subscribers the picks, the plays that we are running ourselves before we go live. Again, pretty self-explanatory. We've got to make sure our subscribers are getting access to the plays that we are using, which means that more than ever before, it's going to be important for any of you who want to fully tail what we're doing to become subscribers over at FTN Fantasy. Now, nothing is a guarantee in this sports betting world, in the pick'em world even, but I can say pretty confidently, I know my personal ROI over on PrizePicks. I know Zach's. I know the combined win percentage, which, by the way, we haven't been able to update this banner yet. We're up to now 61.6%, about 135 picks ahead, 135 more wins than losses at this point. So we can come as close to a guarantee as we possibly can get in saying that if you pay the $45 a month, whatever it is for the FTN subscription, or the $250 a year, which is just incredibly cheap, your subscription is going to be more than paid for based on just your PrizePicks play. Everything beyond that then just becomes really great surplus value. But again, this is about the show. So one other note there is the show, I think our vision for it is going to become even more fun. It's going to become more entertaining. Particularly what we'd like is to have you guys, the audience, be a much larger part of the show where we're looking for picks together, right? Maybe you would say, hey, I know the tool doesn't love Miles Turner tonight, for example, but I really think he has a big game. Can you check on what correlates best with him between, an Al Horford under or Pascal Siakam under, or maybe it's Miles Turner more points and Tyrese Halliburton more assists. Can you check what correlates best for me? We'll go do all of that together, so that in that case, you don't need to be a subscriber. We will do that for you here on the show. Another example of that would be something along the lines of, I really like Zach Wheeler, less than 1.5 walks today. He averages 1 walk per game. He's going under in 6 or 7. I'm completely making those numbers up. He doesn't even pitch today, but you get the idea. Again, we can then go do that research for you. In that case, we wouldn't even be using the tool because the walks aren't in the tool. We can go do that. I can probably look in the back end to see how many projected walks we have for him. But even more than that, I could just go do some of that research with you guys, all that good stuff. So I really, really love where this show is going to go. And of course, we will still be giving out picks. And if maybe we gave out a 6-pick play already to subscribers, if 3 of those 6 are gone, guess what? We'll go find more here on the show. So it's still going to be everything you love about the show, but even more from that. With that being said, let's jump into today's picks. And yeah, Zach, I love this combination, by the way, because every day I feel like I've got maybe 4 MLB plays that I absolutely love. And then I've got a few one-offs that they work. They turn a 6-pick play. It's better to make those. Or I just go to Zach and say, hey, you got any WNBA goodness for me? And we combine those to get some really, really great 6-pick plays. I posted 3 6-pick plays, all MLB plays already for the Discord. And then once we get off of this, Zach and I were able to mix and match between his WNBA and my MLB. And I think I made 5 more with that combination. And anybody in the Discord can there might be 50 different combinations that you could do based on everything that we've got here. So hopefully it's going to be a really fun day. Yesterday, by the way, was as tilting as it gets. Christian Scott was in line for 34 fantasy points. We had him more than 29. All we needed for him was to end up getting the win. And in the 8th inning, I think it was, the Mets left the same guy in for the whole inning. He gives up 5 runs, and they lose the win for Christian Scott. So we ended up with a couple 5 of 6, nearly had a huge night. Maybe that will be our result today instead. And yeah, he's absolutely killing him. And it's awesome too, because there's one element to this where I don't have proof of this. Obviously, I never will. But I think that PrizePicks is actually looking at our model itself, because some of the time they are getting rid of the picks that our model has as the best plays before we even announce them. And they can't do that with the WNBA plays because we don't have a model for it. Zach is our model. So in that regard, WNBA should continue to be an absolute blast throughout this spring and summer season, along with baseball. Okay, it's time to get in today's plays. Let's start with Jordan Montgomery, more than 25.5 fantasy points. This one wasn't even up for a lot of the morning. By the time it showed up, it was at the very top of the model. We've got this at 69.4% to hit. He's a solid pitcher. The strikeouts haven't quite been there the way we expect so far this year, but you can actually see if we go over to the strikeout department, he is here at 4. So like this was one that I was toying with already at 61%. You guys know I don't love the chance for it tying. It's less of a concern now that we've moved away from the demon plays because we're no longer dropping from 38x to 10x. If we hit 5 of 5 with the tie, it's just 25x to 10x. And the 6-pick play, the 5-pick play, the expected values there are fairly similar. So I don't care as much anymore about the ties, but 61%, we can now get rid of that. Instead, go to his fantasy points and get the 25.5. Montgomery has been effective. He's a very solid pitcher. The only question with him seems to be, does he get the strikeouts or not? The fantasy points allows a path to success, even if he's not getting those swings and misses. If he's just collecting the outs, gets a quality start, picks up the win, this 25.5 number is too low. This should probably be 27.5, where you get that key change from 26.5 to 27.5 based on the scoring. We've talked a little bit about that before. 24.5, 27.5, 30.5, etc. Those are the key numbers. Those pass through the key numbers, I should say. So really it's the key numbers themselves are 24, 27, 30, etc. So right here in the middle of it, this is a fantastic play to start. And then from there, I want to go, you guys know I love the correlation, Yordan Alvarez plus Kyle Tucker. We get a great one here. Let's go over to the Astros. And all right, where are you guys? There we go. So right away, you can see they're both available in fantasy points. So let's just see what happens with fantasy points to start. And here we go. 55% for Alvarez, 52% for Kyle Tucker. You see a really nice correlation, but we can do better than this. So we're going to go over to the hits plus runs plus RBI. It's not very often that either of these guys are available at this number. Both of them are today. Maybe it's because it's a left-on-left matchup with JP Sears. Sears is not the kind of guy that strikes any fear into my mind for these guys. In fact, both of these guys hit lefties quite well, and it's not the kind of lefty matchup that they would be scared of. Anyway, 64.3% for Alvarez, 62.7% for Kyle Tucker. Both of these guys are hitting the ball extremely well right now, and you get an even larger correlation bonus going to hits plus runs plus RBI instead of the fantasy points. So instead of being under 30% for this combination, we get this massive 41.5% win probability for the combination. The combination of both of these guys, 41.5% to win. So this is as good as it gets for a pairing. And again, we'd love to find more of these pairings and just, make a 6-pick play out of 3 pairs, but then they start penalizing for correlation. They don't penalize for that one correlated pair. That's going to be Alvarez and Tucker for us today. And then the last one that I really like today is Paddock, going back to the strikeouts, and we can get, is he gone? Oh, he might be gone. All right. No Paddock anymore in the strikeout department. Let's see, where is his fantasy points? 27.5. 31.4 is our projection. So we still have him at 63.8%. I believe the more than 4.5 Ks was at like 65, 66%, if I recall correctly. This is still very solid. And quite frankly, if he gets to that 5 strikeout number, it makes it all the more likely that he hits this fantasy points. So we're going to sub in Chris Paddock more than 27.5 fantasy points instead of the Chris Paddock 4.5 strikeouts that is on your screen, because the strikeouts have already been taken down. Yet another example of the fact that PrizePicks is afraid of us. Once Zach and I place our own plays, once our subscribers start placing the plays as well, these picks get taken off the board. It's only a matter of time before the Jordan and Tucker pairing goes down as well, I would guess. And Montgomery will probably go up to 26.5, 27.5 sometime soon as well. But for now, we can still get this Paddock play. So then that's a great start of 4. From there, we've already posted a bunch of options. So I'm seeing, okay, Paddock was moved to 5. So let's see, is he even there in the strikeouts? Can I find him? Yeah. So yeah, at 5, that's a huge difference. Only 45.8% chance to get more than 5. I think the less, let's see what the less looks like. It's probably going to be less than that because, again, you have this big chance of tying. So yeah, 35%. So it's still more likely to hit than lose, but it's just way too likely to tie at this 5 number. So we don't want anything to do with Paddock's strikeout prop anymore now that it's been raised to 5. But the fantasy points, as you saw, was still a very, very good one, very solid one to use. Man, if it was 26.5, it would probably be something like 70%. So that would be outstanding. But at 27.5, even though it's through that number, it still is really good. From there, we've got so many options. You can go to Zach's WNBA plays. You can go to a couple other one-offs. If anyone is watching this right now and you want me to run through any one-offs that you're considering, now's the perfect time to ask. Otherwise, I'll just kind of go through some of the others that I considered that we played. But whether you're an FTN subscriber or not, if you got something that you want me to run through right now, by all means, fire away in the YouTube live chat section. Okay, let's see. I gotta even remind myself of what some of these other plays were. I think Ohtani more than 8.5 fantasy points is a really interesting one. Facing Hunter Green, so guy throws 1,000,000 miles an hour. What I like about it, though, both Hunter Green and Tyler Stevenson, the expected starting catcher for the Reds, both fairly poor at preventing the running game. So you guys heard me say it before. If there's an aspect of the fantasy point projection in the simulation that can be underestimated, it's when a guy who steals a ton of bases has a great stolen base matchup. We maybe don't have the ability to fully capture that effect. So Ohtani might be more like 60, 62% here because it's such a great stolen base matchup. But of course, he has to get himself in that position to be able to steal. Maybe it's a walk, maybe it's a single. But if he's on first and maybe a slow catcher or someone is like if Austin Barnes gets to start and hits 9th or something, if he's on second base, Ohtani's got nowhere to run. So there's so much randomness in terms of when a guy actually has the opportunity. But I still really like the fantasy points plays on high stolen base guys in great stolen base matchups. We have this at 57% anyway. So I do think Ohtani is a solid one-off today. Thoughts on Reynaldo Lopez? Yeah, he's somebody I'm even considering playing on DraftKings on this early slate. We've got him here, 27.5 fantasy points. We've got it at 65.6%. So actually, this is really interesting. Since the Pirates lineup came out, Reynaldo's 27.5 fantasy points went up from 61% to 65.6%. This is now a strong play for me. Fantastic find there, Albert. Thank you for pointing that out because I wouldn't have even noticed how much better this play has become. This is now awesome, 65.6%. And it's just the effect of the Pirates lineup that they came out with today. So Reynaldo really solid. In fact, let's take a look. What do we think of his strikeouts now? Oh, he's at 5 flat, so 54.1%. Let me check something real quick. One other thing I want to do more of is looking at Underdog as well. And I want to see where Reynaldo is there because every now and then you get, so yeah, 4.5 strikeouts is Reynaldo's Underdog prop. We've got, and it's at a 0.9x multiplier, so I don't love doing that, but you can see here in the tool, where did I just go? Okay. 4.5 is probably going to be really, really strong here. Not 100. Might be in the middle of a resim for that game or something because of the line. So yeah, 72.6% over on Underdog at 0.9x. That's phenomenal. I always love checking that out, particularly on the strikeout picks that are on an even number. So 5.0 instead of 4.5 or 5.5 on PrizePicks in the tool, but they show up really well because a lot of the time what you're going to get on Underdog is you're either going to get a 4.5 like we just saw for Reynaldo. That's a phenomenal play, even if it's discounted a little bit, or you'll find 5.5, which again, we would still have it like 55% or something, but you'll get it at 1.2x or a multiplier or something along those lines. So another way that you can really use this tool, and another way that we will be using the tool more and more often. Freddie Freeman fantasy points. Let's take a look at that one. We're just going to go to the Dodgers. Freddie Freeman fantasy points. Obviously not the base stealer that Ohtani is. Only 50.7%. That might be why. So again, like the tool does project stolen bases. It does do a very good job of it. I think the aspect of it that's really difficult to do is to actually measure the quality of the stolen base matchup. But what the tool does better than we could ever possibly do on our own is simulate how many opportunities Ohtani will actually get in the game to steal. So in that regard, it does a phenomenal job. But you can see only 50.7%. I am curious what their correlation is like here. They do hit next to each other in the order. Every now and then you'll find teammates with basically no correlation. Usually it's because one guy hits second, the other guy hits fifth. And when the one guy goes over the fantasy points, it's not because they sustained a rally, because he hit a home run. Not seeing much correlation here, although that might not have actually run properly. Whoops. Let's see what we got. In any case, this is going to be nowhere close to that Alvarez and Tucker pairing. So wouldn't go to this. I don't know why it's not loading well, but Freeman's only 50.7%. So not one of my favorites for the day for sure. Okay. There was another one. Let me find what the other one that I was looking at was. Oh, I got it. Luis Arias. Arias has been unbelievable. He went something, I think I maybe saw it was 12 straight games. I'm pulling that number out of memory bank from hearing it once, so it might be very wrong. Of multiple hits in a row, including a bunch of 4-hit games, finally went over yesterday in their game. But here, Luis Arias facing Marcus Stroman. So Stroman's a guy who he doesn't miss a ton of bats. Obviously, he pitches to contact a lot. That can work against a high contact hitter. It also could mean that Arias just has no problem squaring up the ball and gets a bunch of hits here. Only 6.5 fantasy points for a guy who has cleared this a ton lately in almost every single game except for the last one. So 57.3% is where we have it. I think that's probably a really solid number, a really solid estimate. Maybe it's a little bit closer to that 60% number, but in any case, Arias always, I think, a solid play. I really wish, by the way, that he was available at 1.5 hits plus run plus RBI, because that would be an absolutely fantastic one. Arias is also like the perfect guy to use opposite of some pitcher props where you take the under. But you can see here, if we go to Stroman, all we get from Stroman, oh, there are some others now. Okay. Earlier, all we had was strikeouts for him. So let's go ahead. Let's look at what his under on outs would be like with Arias. In any case, you're going to see some fantastic correlation here. Yeah, 4.1 percentage points of correlation. So this is pretty solid. One thing I will say is I think the 60% for Stroman to get fewer than 17.5 outs might be a bit of an overestimate. But even in that case, the win probability is still going to be like, I don't know, 37%. So a really, really strong pairing. It's not as good as the Jordan and Tucker pairing. But most days we don't get a pairing as good as Jordan and Tucker is today. So in most days, this right here, Stroman and Arias with all this correlation would be a really fantastic starting point. And look, maybe you've maxed out the Tucker and Alvarez pairing and you just need a different one to go to. Stroman and Arias certainly works as well. right. Any more questions before we head out of here? I will, at the very end, I will also also note the WNBA plays that Zach put into the Discord. I can tell you right now, his favorite of the day, the one that he found and went, oh, this one's definitely a play. Kelsey Plum over 2.5 3-pointers made is a really one. What is my favorite color? I don't think we'll be going to that one. Although, you know what? I will say, you see it right now. It's purple. It's my college's color. So purple has become my favorite. Mabry is down on PrizePicks, but still up on Underdog. That's good to know. One of the other plays was Marina Mabry less than 34.5 fantasy points. So, hey, if you want that, 0.9x underdog play with Reynaldo Lopez and you need something to put that with, remember, you want at least a 3-pick play over on Underdog. On PrizePicks, you basically always want the 6-pick. You can go to the 5-pick flex play. Underdog, the 3-pick is really solid. Don't insure it, just 3 picks, uninsured. Reynaldo, more than 4.5 strikeouts, and Mabry, less than 34.5 fantasy points. It's a good starting point. You can use anything else that we talked about today. One thing you don't want to do over on Underdog, by the way, you don't want to go to that Alvarez and Tucker pairing. They penalize correlation right away. So, for example, like if I go to Tucker, he's got the hits plus run plus RBI. Let's see, does Jordan have it as well? He does. If I do that and then I go to Reynaldo, you know what? Let me actually go to Mabry instead because Reynaldo already has that multiplier. Let's see. So Mabry, less than 34.5 fantasy points. There it is, 34.55. It drops from 6x to 4.8x as a 3-pick play. Tucker, Alvarez, and Mabry. So on Underdog, you can't go to that pairing. They penalize the correlation right away. Again, it's why it's so important to be on both because you can get some really great plays on Underdog today that you can't get on PrizePicks using that Reynaldo Lopez more than 4.5 strikeout pick, but you can't combine Alvarez and Tucker. So make sure you're on both. Use FTN as the promo code for both. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we will catch you next time. Remember, 11:15 a.m. Eastern on Monday. We'll see you then.